Hello, it's Melinda from Scrapbookingncraft, and today I'm just bringing you a small video of a little 6x4 plaque a little 6x4, hard canvas that I decorated. So, just using some book text from an old dictionary. I love the aged look of this dictionary. Sorry to all the book lovers. But who uses a dictionary nowadays? No, I don't, I use Mr. Google. Um, So just tearing up the book pages, and I deliberately tore off the edges so I didn't have any big sort of white gaps. Just randomly using some Mod Podge to glue the book paper down to the canvas. When you're gluing down papers like this, you put a bit of glue on the surface, on the canvas where you want your page to go, and then you seal it over the top. And that gives you a good next surface to work on. Also seals the paper in, and it protects it a bit. Especially because this canvas will be sitting out. It's not like an art journal page that is away in a book. It'll help it from collecting dust and it'll make it easier to clean, which is handy. So just sticking the paper all over in a random fashion, making sure, I just like all the text going in the one direction and up the right way, but hey, you could do it any other way. I am deliberately overlapping it onto the edges because I do want to wrap it around the little canvas just to make it a nice edge. And excuse me if you can hear me moving around a bit. It is freezing here today, and I've actually turned off my heater because it does make a loud noise when I do a voiceover. So I'm using Mod Podge, the paper version. I don't see much of a difference between the paper version and the non-paper version. But you can use matte gel medium, you can use liquid, you can use basically whatever brand. Worst comes to worst, you could use PVA glue and water. You water it down about 2/3 glue, 1/3 water. But the PVA glue does have a bit of a gloss in it. This one does dry a bit more matte. So when you are looking for gel mediums to buy, they do come in gloss and matte, so just be aware of that. So here I'm just putting some glue on the back and sticking it down. My fingers got so sticky doing this, but that's alright. I often get my fingers stuck in glue and paint and all sorts of fun stuff by the end of the project. I found that I left some of these pieces too short to actually fold over for them to stick. So I may go and add, I do go and add another piece over the top just to allow it to fold over and stick down. Never a mistake in mixed media or art journaling. You can just keep going and change slightly how you're going to make it look. So I do have to fix up a few places where I just didn't leave enough over the edge. I don't mind that there's a bit of bubbling. There's also a bit of texture because I've got several layers of paper in several different spots, which just adds the interest of it as well. So all the matte gel mediums do go on a cloudy white sort of glue, but they will dry clear, so it will get a bit more clearer in a minute. And of course I start to yawn. I start to yawn in every video, but I shouldn't be tired at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's ridiculous. Look at my gooey hands, so I have to go and wash my hands. You can leave it naturally dry, or you can quicken it up with a heat tool. Just be careful, don't get too close with a heat tool because you can actually make it bubble, and you can make the matte gel medium bubble up. If that's the effect you're going for, that's great. Trying to dry off my fingers too, they were so sticky after doing that. So these are some little chipboard cold butterflies, I'm assuming. I think that's what I called them, cold butterflies, from my chipboard range on my website, so they should be available. Just giving them a coat of gesso. What I'm going to use is, in the top left hand corner, you can see some little jars. It's Prima texture paste or rust paste. So it comes in a set of 3 jars. That one's got a dark brown, a reddy brown, and a gold. So you can make things look really rusty and crusty and they look really cool. I did want to put the white gesso on the chipboard beforehand. My chipboard is very absorbent. So if you put a layer of gesso on, and that was just cheap gesso from Aldi, actually out of that, very sad. I've managed to find some more affordable gesso. The gesso seals the chipboard and allows your mediums you put on top to sit on top and not soak into the chipboard. So on the side of the box you can sort of see the rust effect. So it doesn't matter which colour you start with the rust paste. I typically start with the darker brown or the darkest color, and then my pieces will have a more of a dark undertone. So I do 100% of the pieces with this. Now this rust paste actually has grit embedded in it, so it's like you've got sand mixed in with the acrylic paint. So you want to get a really old crusty brush. You don't want to use your good watercolor brushes. One of those stiff like kids brushes work really well. And it's more a stippling effect going sort of up and down. This is sped up 3 times, so I don't paint this fast. I wish I did. I'd get my projects done. So just covering the edges as well and all the tops. So the first colour I coat 100%. Now in this particular set it has this dark brown and then it has like a reddy brown. I could substitute those two around and my project would have a bit more of a reddy base, not a brown base. So you don't always have to start with the darkest colour, but it's just a rule that I usually follow because then I get a good look. I was doing demonstrations at a craft show with these colours and we had 9 different colours on the table and people were putting amazing colour combinations together that I'd never thought of. So if you have 2 or 3 sets of the 3 colours, you can mix and match them all. You can also mix them together to make different tints of colours, or you can mix acrylic paint with them. If you're mixing acrylic paint with them, you just, that sand that's in it, you're just diluting it so you get less of the sand crustiness. You'll see that more in the photos at the end. So this second colour I'm dabbing randomly on about 50% of the chipboard. If you go and get some big blobs where you don't want it, bring the first brush back in. I tend to use 3 separate brushes and not wash them when I'm doing this. So this is a gold accent, so I'm just wanting to put a little bit of gold on these. And I'm just seeing how they look on my finished piece because they look different on my piece of scrap paper that I'm working on. So if you do get too much gold like that, I just brought that first brush back in and just toned it down. So basically you're playing with the layers till you're happy. And everyone's happiness level is different, as I say in my classes. So I do like how they're turned out. And as you're working on them, do pick them up and put them on whatever surface you are gluing them on because they will look different to the scrap paper that you're using. Then I decided I wanted to add some more book text. So this one's a bit different book text, it's not as old, but I liked the colour of it. I use a lot of recycled books in my artwork. So just tearing off the sides of the pages, I didn't want the white bits or the untexty bits on the side. So some of it tears well, some of it doesn't tear as well. So I decided, I actually had a break and went and thought about what else I'm going to do because it looked a bit flat. So I grabbed some brown scrapbooking paper from my scrap bin. Say that 10 times. Brown scrapbooking paper from my scrap bin. Just to give it a bit more dark tone because we've got the dark tones in the chipboard pieces, but we don't have any dark tones on the little board yet. So I decided to distress the edges of that. It's a printed paper, so it actually has a white core, so it distresses really, really nicely. So I decided to hack at it with my Tim Holtz scissors, and I don't mind that I make little rips and tears in it. It adds to the interest of it. It's actually a very old Kaiser craft paper. Then I decided to rip a chunk out of it altogether. So I love how that's looking. And then I decide to add some more stuff to it. So mixed media is all about adding different textures and different layers. Your textures and your layers can be really subtle. So I grab an archival ink. I believe this one is one of the browns. It could be either potting soil or something. And I try to sort of grungy up that book paper a little bit more around the edges. Ideally, probably should have done that before I stuck it to the brown one, but, well, I don't do things in order. And then I ripped a bit of it off. Yeah, I ripped another bit of it off. Why not? So then I decide to do a little bit around my actual canvas. When I use a colour on a project, I like to use it in a couple of spots. So I've got it on the edge of the canvas, I've got it on the dark brown on the paper, and I've got the dark brown on the pieces. So it's starting to come together. I decide my paper's a little bit too long on the bottom, so I do go and cut it off. That paint is very gritty, so you end up with gritty pieces all over your workspace. That's what I keep brushing off, but I really like it. I really like the effect this texture paste does. And at the end, there's some really close-up photos because it's hard to see here of what they will look like. So again, I go and think about it, and I decide that I want to use some thread. So this is just some cheap brown sewing thread. Don't even know where I picked it up from. And I just want to basically wrap it around just to give it another subtle layer and a subtle texture. But before I do that, I decide that I need to do some stenciling. So this is one of the stencils I usually have in my range. Unfortunately, we're sold out at this stage. I'm having trouble sourcing stencil plastic in June 2020 due to COVID-19. Apparently, a lot of that sort of stencil plastic is being repurposed for PPE, or personal protective equipment, I think that stands for. I'm hoping to have some more by August, and I believe I have this one in stock, this cog stencil. I'd have to go double check my website. I had a bunch of orders come through last night. But if you don't see the stencils on the website, that means they are out of stock. You can email me to be put on the list when I get some more stencil plastic in. I'm hoping, what are we? We're early July now. So hoping within a month to 6 weeks I'll have some more back in stock. I do cut my own stencils, so they're all my own designs. It's just when I run out of the raw material, it's a bit hard to cut stuff. So I decided that brown was a bit too brown. So I decided to shorten the amount of brown that was around the piece, and I really do like it once I've taken some of it off. It was a bit, I wanted it there, but I didn't want it as much there. Does that make sense? I don't make a lot of sense some days. It's very cold here today. It's been raining off and on. So now I decided to go back to my brown cotton. So sewing cotton's great to use in layers, or string I could have used, but I wanted something there but really subtle. So just randomly wrapping it around the 2 layers of paper, and it just adds that really nice subtle layer of texture and something else that's not paper or chipboard. So I really like how that looks. I do a lot of positioning and moving things around. That's just how I craft. I tend to not stick a lot of things to the background until I'm happy with where things are positioned. So again, I'm moving my little chipboard pieces back on. Trust me, there was a lot more procrastinating I cut out of the videos because I could sit there and procrastinate. Then I decided it needed some height. So these were the shapes that I just had off to the side of the table. So I wanted to see what it looked like with that, with a bit of height. So I'm liking how that looks. So I actually go raid my scrap bin, because why use good chipboard shapes underneath? So I go raid the scrap bin and find an offcut of chipboard. At the craft shows, I actually bring bags of this chipboard, and it's all the sort of the negative pieces around the shapes, and it makes great backing for canvases and things. I don't actually have it listed on the website because posting it is quite expensive, but if you're willing to pay for the postage, you can just message me, and I basically don't charge you for the chipboard if you have it posted out, because the postage is mean enough. It's usually only $5 for a huge bag anyway. So if you are interested in a big bag of scrap chipboard, I think I can send you like 1 kilo or 2 kilos or 3 kilos or something. I'll work it out with Australia Post in a satchel for $10 to $15. I think $15 is more like 3 kilos. And it's great for backing like this. It's great to cut between. Usually you don't get pieces this big. Sometimes you do if my machine has does a mistake and doesn't cut right through. So they're great for doing backgrounds of textures and on canvases and things like that. So if you are interested, let us know. You can either leave a message down below or go to my website and message me for that. So now I'm umming and ahhing again. Do I want to stick them down, move the beads around to a different position? I could sit here and procrastinate all day. I'm the biggest procrastinator. I thought, nah, we're going to glue it down. So using a good, strong craft glue. This one's actually from Reject Shop. I haven't seen it there for a while, but I find it's a nice, strong gel type glue. So it's not a glue that runs everywhere. Helmar 450 is a lot more readily available in Australia. My friend at Hillbilly Scrapping sells that, and it is fantastic as well. So you just want a nice, strong glue for chipboard. Like PVA glue just isn't strong enough. So there's some close-ups of the little project, and as I said, there's some close-up photos at the end where you can see the texture a lot better. So thank you very much for watching, and I will catch up with you again next time. Hoping to do a lot more videos in the next coming months. I've got lots of ideas, just got to find that time. Bye for now.